Hi friends, Quinn here and welcome back to the channel. Frieren was basically everyone's favorite anime last year in 2024. I was someone that really enjoyed it. I've always loved the world of fantasy where it includes mages and witches and elves. And I thought Frieren as a character was really cool. I love to see her journey as someone who is mortal, go through time and learning about how human lives aren't temporary and building relationships and farewells and goodbyes. Not to mention any of the battle scenes where Frieren looks like a boss. And during my watch of Frieren, I quickly fell in love with her and I definitely wanted to add a figure of her into my collection. I have this weird vision where like I want to get a Frieren figure and display her with Elena and Marcel from Dungeon Meshi as well, and that can be like my little fantasy shelf, my little maid shelf. And we have gotten a couple Frieren figures, not that many in my opinion. I think she has like 4, but it is better than having no figures at all, and there was options involved and I got to spend some time choosing which one was the best Frieren figure to add in my collection. I hope the company is correct, but I think the first Frieren scale that was announced and put up for pre-order was the Design Coco one, which was combined with the fern, like they're meant to be displayed together. Another one was the Frieren by Kotobukiya with that beautiful flower base. Claynel also made one, and so did Good Smile Company. I don't think there are any other ones, but those are the 4 that I was choosing between. And let me tell you, I had a really difficult time choosing because none of them, I don't know if this is controversial to say, but none of them were like perfect to me, if that makes sense. For example, one of the Frieren figures, I would love this aspect of it, but another aspect of it I would love more on another Frieren figure. And I just like, each one had a strong point, if that makes sense. Like one had a great face, one had a great pose, one had a great base, and XYZ. Let me quickly go through the ones that I didn't get and why I didn't get that one, and then we will get into the one I did choose at the end and unbox her together. Alright, I'm going to start with the weakest one in my opinion. If you have this one ordered or you have it in your collection already, I don't know if this one's released, but don't take offense to it, it's just my opinion. If you're happy with it, then that's great. But I think the Design Coco one is the weakest one. I just think she looks a little funny. I think getting them split up and you still have the half bases, which is clearly evidently meant to be displayed with another figure, I think that looks really bad. The strongest point of this overall figure would probably be that Fern is a matching set. Fern gets really neglected when it comes to scale figures, so I can really appreciate that on this figure, but I don't know, I think it's not the most accurate looking Frieren in my opinion, and I'm not a fan of how they did her hair. I think it's like a translucent plastic. Either way, it just doesn't look well done to me, and I thought it was the weakest one out of the 4 Frieren scales. The next one has already released, and it released simultaneously with the one I did end up picking, and I didn't end up getting the Frieren Kotobukiya because I just thought the face was slightly missing the mark for me. I will say I think this one has my favorite base and pose. I think it's the most sentimental to the anime. I love the reference to Himmel and the bed of flowers, and I do love how dynamic it is, but yeah, the face was not 10 out of 10 for me. I think the bonus smiling face was even worse. I'm so sorry if you have this figure, but I just like, it's not that Frieren doesn't smile, I just think it doesn't look like her as much as it could be. And this is such a weird critique, and I hope you guys get where I'm coming from, but I do love that her hair is dynamic, but I think it like, the way her hair is flowing in that figure, the tips of her hair look so bulky to me. Like, it doesn't look like it's intentionally flowing and flaring apart. It just looks like it goes thin and then it goes bulky here. I'm not a fan of that. But again, the pose is great. It's dynamic. It's probably second in line for the most dynamic when it comes to all the Faerins, and I think the base is really cute. And that leaves two. We have the Good Smile Company one and the Claynel one. Obviously at the time of this video, the Good Smile Company one hasn't released yet. I remember when they showed the unpainted prototype, I was actually really looking forward to it. I thought, oh yeah, you know what? This is the one I'm gonna get. But at the time, I also thought that there was going to be a matching fern because the base was so massive. And then she got painted and there was no announcement of a fern, and Faerun got put up for pre-order and there's still no announcement for a fern, which means this is just a standalone figure. And I do think the Faerun on that is probably the most accurate looking, but I just think the amount of base, like the ratio of base to figure, is just so unnecessary, and I don't love Faerun that much for her to take up that much shelf space in my collection. There were critiques that her face was too round or she looked a little too short, and although I kind of agree with those comments, I think I would have overlooked it if people didn't point it out in the first place. But yeah, there's really nothing wrong with that figure. I just don't have the space for that kind of figure, if that makes sense. If that was Komi and she had an unnecessary big base, I'd buy it instantly. Which leads me to the Faerun figure by Claynel. I hope she's in frame. Anyway, I went with this Faerun in the end because I think it accurately looks like her. I love the base. It reminds me of like a comfy Japanese garden kind of vibe, and I thought it was a nice in-between of dynamic but still capturing that stillness of Faerun's personality. And yeah, I think Claynel is just an amazing company. I'm very looking forward to their Necropyre figure. I think their Kanata figure turned out phenomenal, and I cannot wait to open this one. By the way, if you don't think this is the best Faerun, I get it. I understand. I think I had a really hard time choosing between the four. It took me a long time to pick one before I could lock in which one I really wanted. When I did decide I wanted this one, she was sold out on Ami Ami. I think she's back in stock now. But at the time, I was like, no, I really want this one. And so I ended up getting her from Hobby Genki because they did have stock. Also, seeing Fig Momo here on YouTube unbox this figure, I was like, yeah, I want that one. I'm gonna quickly show the base because I'm in love with this base. People may think it's boring or too simple, but I love it. I'm also so happy they didn't go with like a full-on grass base. I think that can look a little tacky sometimes. But here's the base. It looks so nice. And here's Faerun herself. She's so nice. Just attach her to the base and she is put together. I'm actually so happy. I think I made the right choice of picking this Faerun in my collection. A lot of my collection vibe is really cute and that kawaii pink aesthetic, and although Faerun isn't necessarily that vibe, I think out of the four, this one fits my collection the best just because it's quite simple. A lot of my figures are just cute anime girls standing on a small base being like, I think she's gonna fit right in. And you guys, like I said, Claynel is such a good manufacturing company. First of all, let's start with the sculpt. I think the sculpting is so crisp. I love how dynamic her hair is, the way it's flowing in the wind and it looks so light and dainty. The sculpting on her clothes as well, with again the wind or the breeze blowing through it. I think this is one of the best hand sculpt figures in my collection. That's such a weird thing to say, but I can't help but notice how delicate her hands look. The knuckles are present, the nails are there as well. It just looks really detailed for a hand. Her body sculpt as well, I'm specifically talking about her legs and her knees. I'm gonna sound like a weirdo, but even her butt underneath her dress is sculpted really well. And I love her boots so much. I appreciate all the creasing. The paint job is also really nice. I can't fault the company for lacking shading just because Freyrin doesn't have a bright, colorful palette when it comes to her overall look. Considering that she has silver/gray hair, I think they did a good job. Majority of her hair is like a white with a tint of a silvery purple for the shading. I do think they went a little ham on the bangs when it comes to shading because it's not consistent with the back of her hair. She does not have blush on her face, unfortunately, but she does, however, have it at the tip of her ears and the inside of her ears as well, which I appreciate. There is not that much shading on her dress, but one thing that also makes me pick this Freyrin is I appreciate the gold coloring they did on this. I think it's too saturated on the Kotobukiya and the Design Coco one, but here it's a nice middle ground, and there's also a slight shimmer to it, which is really cute. Continuing on the shimmering paint, it's also along her staff, which I think looks really nice. The rod portion of the staff is like a red shimmery metallic finish. Same with the gold, but then the head of the staff is more of a matte finish. And I don't know how to explain this, but like the middle part of the head of the staff is like a transparent glass type of vibe, if that makes any sense. And I love the base so much. I love that she's walking on white stone. Some of the stone have pink shading on it, and I love the little bits of grass as well. I love that it's a lighter green as well. Most grass bases are this vibrant green, which I'm not a huge fan of. And I just think the vibe is so cozy. The quality is just so nice. I can't explain it, but I just feel like this figure is really well done, and I'm so happy that I picked this one. I have no regrets. I know for sure I made the right decision. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Freyrin anime and all of her scales that have released so far. I hope you guys don't mind this quick video, and let me know if you have any Freyrin figures in your collection or ordered. Do you plan to have all of them? Do you plan to just get the one? Do you agree that this one's the best one? But yes, thank you for watching this quick unboxing, and I will catch you guys in the next one.